This is one of the things that happens when you are working with technology. It doesn't work. The first rule of technology, it never works the way you want it to. Usually because of other people. And it's not that there's something wrong with it, it's just, well, it's kind of how it is. My name is Eva Fogh. I am from Denmark, and I am the founder, chairwoman of DigiPB, which is an organization with the sole purpose of getting girls interested in technology on their terms. There are some very good reasons why we need these girls online and on board. And there's also a very good reason that I'm not mentioning boys that much. You will find out why. I am also an expert in children and gender equality in technology, and as my colleague just told you, digital literacy is the way of the world. I could have said most of what he said in one of my other talks, because technology and being a part of it from you are very young is important, and we cannot look the other way. I do a lot of talks like this all over the world. These are just 3 pictures of the work that I've done. There's a very big motion towards getting girls into technology, getting women into technology. I've been doing this for 3.5 years officially, but the last year or 2, the world has changed. The world started looking at the lack of women in technology as an issue, and I can't tell you how glad that makes me. There is this thing about technology. We all use it. We are 7.6 billion people. Over 4 billion people are online every single day, and we do almost the same amount of Google searches. 2 billion mobile phones, smartphones, was sold this year alone, worldwide. And 230 million computers were built. There's been a really big gap in how technology is used. We've gone from being stationary to being mobile because, well, we have it in our pockets now. And technology is everywhere. It's where we shop. It's in our educational system. It's the entertainment system, and it's in our transportation system. There isn't a thing in most of the organized world that isn't touched by technology in some way. Chairs being made, technology's starting there, they design it, they produce it. Even lighting, tablecloths, everything has something to do with computers nowadays. And it's from the African plain to the middle of the biggest cities in the world. So right now, the status of technology is not a very good one. There are 75% males in technology worldwide, and only 25% females. And this is an issue in so many ways. Right now, we are 100% technological users. But most of those who make our technology is one gender. Bulgaria is one of the better nations in the EU. They're better in Denmark, where I come from. They're better at getting women into technology and keeping them there, because there's also an issue with retainment. We might get the girls interested in technology, get them through an education, and get them to the workplace. But they leave. Slovakia, they have a serious issue. They're actually in the bottom of the EU, with only 9% females. It may have something to do with culture, I don't know. But I guess you want to know where Hungary lies. 13% females in technology. That is almost half of everybody in the world. So there's a long way to go still, unfortunately. But there is a change happening. And there's also a very interesting fact that a lot of the countries that are the best at getting women into technology are not the richest countries. Russia, for example, is the best country in the world right now. And that's really interesting when you look at how their society has worked and how countries like mine or the States, we're full of potential, we have so many things, but we can't get the women to get the jobs in technology. Right now, we have an issue all over the place in what is called the STEMs, the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. When we talk about technology, we also end up talking about the other things because in some annoying way, they all correlate. They all have the same issues, but technology is the worst. As you can see, women quit quite a lot into technological occupations, 56% in the whole of EU. Over 10 to 20 years, there are more women who end up leaving technology than in any other sort of careers. And on worldwide, women tend to leave the tech jobs earlier than in any other occupation. It's really bad. And it's also really bad that 51% of those who actually took an education in technology never ever look back when they leave. They find something totally different to do. So there is an issue, and it's a big one. Lack of career advancements is one of the biggest ones. Right now, there aren't many females in top leadership. There aren't many women in middle management when it comes to technology. That's a big issue. There's a very excluding environment. It's sort of a bro culture. It's called bro coders in Silicon Valley, which means a sort of brotherhood where the boys and the men are used to being together and doing things their way together. So when females start to come into the workplace, they're told to adapt or get the hell out of there. That leads to very low job satisfaction. If somebody tells you at your workplace you're not good enough and you're not supposed to be here and we're usually doing things this way and people talk very badly about you, you don't like what you're doing. And that also leads to very slow pay advancements. You simply don't get the amount of money if you're a female than you do males. And that again is a global thing, but it is really bad in the tech industry. So you're treated unfairly, perceived as less skilled. You are sexually harassed, a lot. So many women, unfortunately I have experienced it myself, are being treated as less of an equal and more as an object. And if you have something to do with technology, you are a novelty. You are there because you want to impress somebody, or, well, you're just lucky. So that makes you doubt your own skills. This is actually one of the biggest things that women in the world have right now. They doubt their own abilities to be part of the technological advancement. In my own country, Denmark, we have, well, a world record of women not trusting themselves, but it's all over the place. I know a lot of women, as I said, who works in technology. I did it myself. I did never get education in technology because nobody helped me. But when I came out and did technology anyways, because I'm stubborn as I was treated like somebody who shouldn't be there. And I know what I'm doing. And I know so many young women, I know so many older women who had to change the ways of their life because they were not male, so they couldn't be a part of the tech. But now we're 2018, so that's got to stop. The girls, they're really hard to get into the technical and STEM educations, like in very, very hard. We had a peak in about 1984 with 37% females taking computer science classes. That is the highest point it has ever been in the history of the sciences. It has only gone down from there. Women aren't seeking the technological educations, and it's not because they're less skilled. All the surveys show that the women actually have so much skill level that they should be a big part of it, but the educational system does not include women in the same way that they include men. This is a statistic about when girls in general start finding an interest in technology. When we start at university, we're at late teens, start 20s. But if we start finding an interest in technology when we're about 10 or 11 or 12, our lives have already started. Developmentally speaking, it's pretty late to start finding something that you might want to do with the rest of your life. Russia, as I mentioned, is really good at this. They have girls at the age of about 10 who find technology interesting. And they have these amazing statistics in general. They think their teachers are engaging them in technology. They also think that everything they are being taught, technological and in STEM, are gender neutral. They have parents who encourage them to go through STEM. And many of the girls think of actually pursuing a career, so they do it. But one of the really interesting things is, right now there's a lot of girls who are actually interested in technology, but never end up taking any sort of education because it is not something for someone like me. I have this exact quote from a very big survey that was made 2 years ago, and they asked young females, why don't you go take a tech education? It is not for someone like me. And they didn't specify exactly what that means. But from what all the other surveys say, women do not feel included. They're not shown technology at a very early age. They are not told the why. Why should I actually care about technology? And then the girls start losing interest in the early teens. And when they start losing this interest, it's about when they enter puberty, and most of you know when you're into puberty, your head starts spinning in a totally different direction and everything else just sort of becomes different. But if you have not had an interest before then, there's a very slight chance that you will get one afterwards. Stereotypes is one of the biggest reasons right now why females do not enter tech. We all know the professor type. Girls and boys have been asked in classes around the world, draw a fire person or a doctor or so and so. Most of them drew men. We have these stereotypes in our head about who does what, because our society has shown us this always. We have a tendency, if we want to know what a geek is or a female tech nerd, this is Amy from one of my favorite shows, Big Bang Theory. And this is sort of what the girls look like. It's the before picture in the movies where the girl later gets hot. It's how everybody looks at females. And they're usually not very social, they're usually very bright, but they're usually not that pretty or engaging in so many ways. And then we have at home, where dad takes the computer when it doesn't work, fixes the mobile phone when it doesn't work, uses the remote when stuff doesn't work. So we're teaching both boys and girls that technology is something that males do. And then there's something about all the games and how it's been portrayed in marketing and so on and so forth from the earliest day of the microcomputer, which is start 70s. I didn't bring all my slides on how commercials changed how we look at computers, but the before and after picture isn't pretty. Before picture of computers where everybody is together, it's a nice family thing. After about middle 80s, women were sexual objects desiring men who did computers, or boys with board games, or women portrayed as stupid, basically. This leads to some very, very, very annoying things because, yeah, maybe men could do all the technology in the world and that would be fine, except it's not. We are not getting good enough products when everybody isn't involved. Diversity is essential for the bottom line. So many studies show that if you have a diverse workforce, you get better results and earn more money. And who doesn't like that? But we also get better products. Medicine trials. They have, in general, been tested on the average male. And maybe all of you know this, but men and female biology is different. That can mean the certain death for women, because women aren't the average male. Test dummies in cars and safety. Until 2012, there were no female test dummies. Cars are still not built to focus on pregnant women, and women are more likely to die in car accidents because the technology is built for the average male. Smartphone apps, like health apps. When Apple released their health app in, I don't know, a year ago, 2 years ago, they said they could measure everything, but they excluded one thing: the female reproductive cycle, which is by far one of the most important things as a female you need to check. And then there's the air condition, which is a really annoying but fun example. Most women freeze when men find it hot, because air condition is set to the average male. And again, biology is different. So all of these products show that if we do not remember to have both genders in technology to make these products, we will not reach product that can reach everybody, and that will leave the women out. So I'm at a computer when I was 10 years old. That's me. I was very little by then. And I fell in love. This is why I'm standing here. This is very personal to me. As I said, I tried to work in technology. I did. But it was because I wanted to. I had an uncle who did technology and was very skillful and very high up in the tech business in Denmark. He never saw me. Nobody saw me, the girl, as somebody who uses technology, and maybe she should try and do something with it in her life. Nobody. And I was very, very happy with the computer, but I tried. I tried to get an education in technology. Nobody showed me how. I tried everything, so I just ended up finding my own way, and I am now an educated Waldorf pedagogue, which, if you don't know what that is the least technological education on the planet. But the way you look at technology and nature actually fits very good together. So I was in my mid-20s when I started meeting other women who actually found technology interesting and understood me. And I found so many women who had the exact same issues that I have. And I've been around the globe. And I meet them from all civilizations and all nations and all cultures. So I got my education and I went out in the school system and started teaching boys and girls technology. And to my horror, nothing had changed since I was 10 years old. The girls still thought they weren't good enough. They didn't get attention. The boys, they got all the fun stuff. So I started doing, well, let's say interventional courses for the girls only, because they were like, oh, I can't do this. And they used really high-pitched voice with their cute dresses and things like that. I don't know anything about technology. And I'm not exaggerating. I had a very beautiful little girl called Layla look at me with her big brown eyes say, I don't know how to do this. And after 2 months with me, she was running around after that robot yelling, because she found out it was for her. She found out the why. The why was, I made that robot a dog. She loved dogs. So of course she wanted to program it because, well, she could now give the dog a bone. But that was her why. So I came out in the world, started finding out, how did boys do this? How did girls do this? The girls, well, the boys have the trial and error kamikaze approach. It's like, technology! And then they just do stuff with it. It's awesome, I love it. They don't seem to fear failure, or they're not aware of failure, or they forget they fail, or something. They just continue to do things. And they group together and observe each other and are part of the thing together. Because the tech in itself entices them. The girls, so not that. They lack initiative. As I said, this is not for me. Or maybe I'll fail, or maybe I won't know enough, or maybe I'm stupid, or maybe somebody will laugh at me, or maybe my friends won't, and there's so many maybes. So they are really, really afraid, therefore lacking initiative. So they back off. If they are not met the first time around, they back off and they don't come back. And they require a group or a mentor to continue. So I started grouping the girls together with me as a mentor. And I've had amazing results since I started DigiPipi in 2015. These girls, they came up and started being a part of this together with me. And the boys, they were just as good. They stopped being the helper and started being the participant. They started being even levels with the boys. So I made DigiPipi in 2015 by the organization called Reach for Change, which is a social economic organization throughout the world. They helped me. And they helped me find out that what we should do to teach the girl is we take the interest first. As I said, the little girl, she loved dogs, so we made a dog. Everything we do is technology second. We don't teach technology. We teach courage, we teach initiative, and we teach the ability to believe in yourself. And then we give them the technology to actually get their interests out. We teach them from 7 through 13. We have also had 5 years old, and they're awesome. They just require more time. And by hacking their interests, so to speak, by using what they already find interesting, we get to them. We get past all these, no I can't, oh this is horrible, oh technology is scary, I can blow something up. And they just do it. And while being with other girls, they find friends who think like them. And most importantly, they have very caring role models who help them, engage them, and teach them. Right now I have 55 women from the school librarian to really hardcore data technicians. These women are every sort of woman you can possibly think of, because we want to teach the girls that there isn't one type of technical person, there isn't one type of technical job. Everything and everybody could be technical. And these are some of my role models. And oh, by the way, the one in pink, that's my mom. And I taught her technology. Well, actually, she was taught technology before I was born and then forgot it because it wasn't something for her. And then I became interested and started teaching her. She's now a DigiPipi granny. And every time we go out and do our workshop, it's after-school workshops, we have about 20 girls totally focused for 2 to 4 hours. They start by feeling, oh, maybe I can't do this. But through different sort of research, we found out that every girl ended up feeling that she can do it. We had a trial run at a school over 5 weeks. The girls went from, I don't know what to do, and 5 weeks later, I had them at a conference where they sat and taught grown men how to use technology. And nobody would have thought that was possible before. This is the motto we live by. And this is what I want everybody to take from here. No matter if it's boys or girls, whatever. Pippi Longstocking, which is of course the role model which DigiPipi is created by, said, I have never tried that before, so I should definitely be able to do that. And the girls that I meet, the women too, because sometimes we take the moms, they found out when we just do things and it's safe and they don't feel like they're failing, of course they can do it. So, thank you for having me, and I hope you now have a small glimpse as to why gender matter in technology. I don't have time to go in depth with this, but I have several years to come where I'll do my best to do that. Thank you.